Here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show.
Hey,
Thursday here, summertime. I'm using a remote location here on a laptop, so bear with me. Let me see if I get this volume to go up for me here, Craig. Can you hear me good?
it works. Yeah, you're good.
Hey, so talking about three phases tonight, being an advisor, broker, and some of the stages I've been through, some I haven't yet. Some Craig's been through, some Craig hasn't. Right? We were going to talk
Some
about
we don't
different.
want to be.
Yeah, we're going to talk about different phases, but tonight we're going to talk about these other three. So we're going to talk about phase one when you're brand new advisor, right? And you're going out on your own here. We're going to talk to the independents. Um, and, when you first startup mode, phase two, once you get past X amount of dollars in revenue, hiring people, and then third phase, business owner, right? And like me, Craig talked about before, I mean, Craig, you could mention it, what we had at the event, because you got to decide what you want in life. And it may change as you go along,
For
right? We don't
sure.
know. You may change your mind. I know I
Yeah.
change my mind often.
Yeah. And I would say, even if you're just starting out, it doesn't matter whether you're with an independent agency, a national firm, or you're hanging a shingle by yourself. For all intents and purposes, you're your own corporation. I don't care if you work for a big box house, you're self employed with a big brand on your card. So you have to figure out how you're going to optimize yourself and maximize your situation. So that's what happens when you start out. You just have a certain level of skill, an even smaller level of perspective and awareness. So most of the time, you don't know what you don't know. John, as we've come to discover over the last 4 years, that's probably a good thing because the guys who don't have all that experience to get in the way of trying new stuff, the younger guys and gals tend to do better because they'll try stuff. They don't talk themselves out of it before they ever start.
Hey, just that camera down, just a hair there. Thank you. Hey, what's up, John Clay? Hey, show sponsor Virtue Health. Check us out, Virtue Alliance, number one purchasing consortium in the country. Best performance you're going to find. You got renewals coming up for 10-1, 11-1, 1-1. You're in group purchasing programs. Get 15, 25% increase to stop loss in good years. Give us a buzz. You're going to want to look at a better program that's managed risk properly. Check us out. Book a demo, virtualliance.com. Yeah, so, I mean, I think what, when you start, you don't know what you don't know. You think I'm going to run this big business, this, that, and the other. And I knew when I started growing my block, and I hired the second person, I knew right then and there, I was like, whoa, I don't like this. I now have to
Mm-hmm.
hire more employees and the profit margins go down. And okay, now I got to manage more employees, which is things that I like to do. Does this make sense? Do I want to grow this big? And that's kind of the questions you're going to have to ask as we get through this year. But phase one, simply put, your startup, you're new, anything goes. If you can get some side cash before you start, great. You got to have a plan in place. And the number one plan you're going to need to have is how to generate leads. If you can't generate leads, you're going to fail. Period. End
Yeah.
of story. So, when I started, I had a telemarketer at the older firm that I knew wanted to come over with me. So I knew I could generate leads. I had to find the money to do that. I had 6 months of money, and I figured I had to close business to offset his cost within 6 months. Although I didn't know shit, I didn't really close much business before that. But that's what I had to do is just get money for marketing, right? And look, I think I spent 50, 60 grand before I had a book of business the first year just to
Yeah.
generate leads. People have a book of business now, they don't spend that.
The
Um,
challenge, though, John, is when you're starting out, you tend to believe whatever your boss tells you. And so the challenge with that is that you don't know it, but your boss isn't that good. They don't know that much. They're giving you the it's a numbers game thing, or they're telling you that you need to study this, you need to study that, you need to learn about this, you need to learn about that. And the fact of the matter is that if there's plenty of intelligence in the industry, and if you can, when you're starting out, master a few good hooks, good introductions, good ways to get people to go, Yeah, I'd entertain a meeting for that. If you can do that, then you can bring your knowledge library with you. You can bring your subject matter expert with you. But what you need to be able to do is get lots of repetitions in front of prospects. And so, when you start out, you tend to kind of like, if they can fog a mirror, I'm going to talk to them. And so you're working on micro groups and, anything that you can. And it's important when you're starting out to get those reps in, because you need to learn to get comfortable with people telling you no. And if you can survive that, then you can probably be an entrepreneur in this industry. If you find out that that's crushing to you, then maybe sales or consulting and advising isn't for you. And that's okay. Find out early. But the name of the game is get all the reps you can sitting in front of people, making presentations, and getting opportunities to have more discussions.
Yeah, you need to get some practice, but like I said, getting that's what I'll lead to is sales training, right? Invest in some sort of sales training. The first 8 or so months, I would say I wasn't doing that well, right? And I took Jordan Belfort's stuff later in the year and completely turned everything around almost instantly with some sales training there. So if you can invest in marketing, getting in front of people, and then just getting better when you get in front of people. Don't worry about staff and employees. You got nothing to manage. If you're starting from scratch, I was scratch agent. You don't have
Yeah.
no service, right? And so that first year, focus on keeping costs low. I mean, now everything's remote. You really can, it's accepted to work out of the house or remotely. Hey,
Yeah.
it's a remote agency. So you get past that. I was cold calling out of my new 700 square foot condo with my 9-week-old dog. So, you had to do what you had to do in the beginning. In the first year,
It's such a different game though now, right? I mean, you can create a presence, you can go online, you can do social media, you can post, you can present, you can speak, you can ask to talk at events and chamber meetings, and the world is opening up now again, so you can go there and make a presentation, you can join networking groups. You got to go hustle. You have to go hustle, and it's that's the game.
yeah, I mean, the
Sales and
fastest
marketing.
Yeah, the fastest way is going to be through cold calling. In the beginning, you're going to struggle with your new. You don't know if you're new and you don't know what you're doing. You have no credibility, like I didn't. Then sources of influence don't exist. Client case studies don't exist. The people that you're asking to go see their clients may not have the utmost confidence in you. So they weren't there for me in the beginning. So, and I was okay with that because I already only knew cold calling and it worked. So we were able to get in the opportunities. And so, I mean, that's really phase one. My first year was a complete failure. Had, lawsuits from the prior company and so on and so forth. And then also, like Craig said, it's something I figured out later was, I was selling my leads for 50 plus to help pay for telemarketing, not knowing that was stupid because I worked for a small group broker that only did up to 50. And I didn't even understand that you were allowed to do over it because we didn't have any. And he said, that's the big companies do that. And so, like Craig says, you only know what you know. I came from a small group broker and that's what I knew, but I knew I could duplicate it and make, good money doing that. And it wasn't until later where I realized, hey, I can get the bigger groups. And so that's phase one. You want to add anything to that, Craig?
Well, the trap of phase one is that you end up doing everything, right, John? I mean, you do $10 an hour work, you do $100 an hour work, and so it's the challenge of starting out and building your reps, building your muscles, building your intellect, building your skill, building your experience, so that you can give better advice, you can ask better questions, you can solve bigger problems. You know how to find out what the problems are. When you start out, a lot of organizations tend to feature and benefit you to death, and they kind of tell you, they guide you along kind of the wrong path on how to sell, and so you create a lot of stress. You create a lot of freaked out prospects because you show up and you throw up, and so just I think probably the biggest challenge, John, is when you're starting out is you kind of have to do everything. And sadly, what happens when people don't transition to phase two they still, I mean, right, John, at some of our events over the years, we've had older brokers, who continue to tell themselves the lie on why they need to be available. I mean, they can't go on vacation and turn off their phone. They have to be available because, if somebody calls and needs an ID card and they're not there, they might lose the case. Like, that is so not true. The industry is so full of stories that brokers tell themselves on how valuable they are, and it's just not true. Everybody needs free days to recharge their batteries. Clients respect you if you tell them, you know what, I'm going on vacation with my family, with my spouse, with my significant other, whatever it is, with my dog, and I got to recharge my batteries. Everybody's good with that. You're just afraid to say it. And so as you get more experience, or you hang around people who have more experience, they'll tell you, just tell them this and it will be fine.
Yeah, short story. I mean, look, I didn't take a vacation for the first 4+ years when I started the company, and years before that. And then I met Craig, and I said, hey, I'm going to get a place in California. And I ended up never taking a vacation to moving to California and staying there for 3 months, the first 3 months. No problems at all. Nobody cared. Nobody's worried.
Tell the people where your clients were, because some people may not know.
Yeah, my clients were in New Jersey, as far as you can get. And I was scared to tell them. And then I would tell them, and they'd be like, oh, that's great. You're lucky. Stay out. I'd be like, yeah, well, I'm coming back. I'm coming back in a couple of days, Oh, stay out there as long as you can. Enjoy yourself. They're like, no, stay there. Don't worry about coming back. We don't, you're not that important. We don't need you. We'll pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, going to phase 2, mistakes that I made, right? You're hiring staff now. Phase 2 would be like, you pass, let's say $100,000+ of revenue. You got to hire an account manager and staff, because you want to train him. You got to find somebody. It's going to take time to do that. The longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. You're going to turn over some people in the beginning, right? The biggest mistake I made is I waited too long. I got used to doing everything myself, and I was the best. And I came from being account management and sales. Well, more account management. And I was like, no, nobody else is touching it. Mine's the best. It's got to be perfect, this, that. And it was completely wrong. It didn't need to be perfect. I could have the GA do a lot of the work, and I didn't want them to touch anything.
Yeah, that world's changed.
I had them do the work and then me review it, but I wanted to be the know-it-all and the best, and so on and so forth. And so, you start to realize, okay, I don't need to do all this work. Some of you brokers are out there, some on the call, you're still doing the minutia work, and all it's doing is just deflecting you from running your business. If you're not trying to write your business, fine. Then hey, go hang out or go on vacation or something.
Yeah, they act like, I am the be all end all. I have all your answers, right? And so you're the one-stop shop. You're also the one centralized point of failure, because you train your clients, right? I always taught my staff, either we train our clients or our clients train us. So it's far better if we train our clients, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no big deal, 10 being a big deal. People at a lot of clients, under a lot of pressure from competing demands, will tend to overweight things, right? Ordering a new ID card is not a 10. Okay. I used to literally tell my clients, you need to tell this employee that their mother doesn't work at the company, and that they can pull out their wallet and call the 800 number and order an ID card themselves. Okay. They don't need HR to do that, who then calls the broker and have the broker. I mean, just all these things. And you empower people to empower employees, and silly little things that are ones can all be taken care of. And then over time, the industry changed, and, consumer had to do it themselves, or then they could just print one offline on the internet. Fine. So you have to train your customers, right? And you need a customer service person, because I think, John, as I recall, the most time consuming things were obviously service work and marketing. 12 months goes by so fast, and you've got to renew the group, and it's a small group, and you've got to go and you got to get the quotes, and some are on one GA system and some aren't. You got to go direct, and you're going to go, maybe you're going to show them partially self-funded, you're going to show them level funded. Yeah. Nowadays, you're going to show them ICRA. It's just, it can be overwhelming, and it's very time consuming. So that should be.
We got a new, we got a system a couple of years back. They started doing the quoting right on the CRM system. And it was like, from taking an Excel spreadsheet of hours tweaking it to just clicking a couple buttons to compare the plans. Unbelievable amount of time it saved.
Yeah.
So if you can get some tech, invest in tech, that's for sure. I mean, I've learned so much, and now, I can do things so much faster, not just from the experience, but the tools we have and using a GA, for the fully insured quoting or ancillary. We have an ancillary specialist that does all our stuff, spreadsheets. We're not doing it anymore. Why would I do that? If somebody else is willing to do it to get our business and they do a good job on it. So, that next phase really is getting some help. The sooner you can get the help, if you can establish those relationships in the beginning and have those, ADO, automate, delegate, outsource, you can have a team behind you. Like I talked to some of my clients, like, well, how many employees do you have? I said, just a handful. We got 9 people right now. But the reality is the majority of the work that gets done is by our partners or the products or solutions you're buying. They do all the work. We're kind of the quarterback. We're the consultant. So we don't have to do all that work. I don't need 50 employees, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's a way you're going to want to look to set it up as you get to the next step. Because what happens here is after, like I said, the mistake people make is they look at the revenue and they don't want to give up the 80 grand to pay an account manager or whatever. Who knows these days, 100 grand. And, what you got to do is look at it, go, well, it's 8 grand. Let's say it's 7 grand a month. Well, it's 7 grand a month. If I have somebody doing all this work, how fast can I offset the 7 grand a month with a new account? And now I'm free rolling. Don't look at it as I made 200 this year. I'm going to hire an 80 grand. I'm only going to make 120 next year. If you don't write any new business, then you're going to die anyway. But, the reality is hire them sooner than later, because one, is going to take a while to find them out. Then you can even go to assistant. The best thing hiring is an assistant to help you with, because now, if you're working hard and you want to grind, you got a lot of personal stuff and you always put that last, you'll never do it. And so you can have a personal assistant just to help manage your appointments, data collection, prospect updates, help you with just your personal stuff, your personal bills, mail, so on, commissions, so on and so forth. That's a great investment. That's going to be maybe after that. They can even do, at that point, I hired the second person. They were kind of the account manager's assistant as well. So they were doing enrollments and all the nonsense stuff, learning. And now the account manager sits over the top of them, and you get them doing more of the grunt work. And then that person's more replaceable than the account manager in case they don't work out. So, you don't want to stress the account manager out, especially if they're good. Get them a junior account manager, assistant, whatever you want to call them, so they're not stressed out, so they can help with the work. And that's probably step number 2. I mean, if you're doing, at this point, I think you need to hire, if you're really trying to grow. I hired full-time business development person day one, right? Borrow the money, beg, borrow, and steal, put on a credit card, whatever you can do. The best investment is going to be yourself. So just do the numbers, what it takes to grow the block.
Yeah. If you're really starting out on the low end of the totem pole, then spend the money and invest in yourself. Build your skills up as soon as possible on how to sell in today's world, not stuff from the 90s or 20 years ago. Get current training. And then what you'll find, everything's just cash flow timing after that. When you have enough prospects and you have enough swings at the plate, if you will, and you're pitching and you're going to close deals. And so that pays you a monthly commission. And the person you have to hire, you only have to pay monthly. So you're not, what the annualized number is, but at some point there's a crossover, right? So maybe you've run it for 4 months and then all of a sudden the commission's coming in. And so then it's just a crossover. How long does it take for the commission to exceed the overhead? And like John says, and after that, you're free rolling. And so it's really about being able to prospect and sell.
Same thing with marketing. People look at a marketing fee. Somebody does marketing system, and let's say it's $3 grand a month. It's like, oh, they look at it on a monthly basis. No, it's 36 grand a year. Can you close one account on 20, 30, 40 leads? If you can't, you shouldn't be in the business. You close one at that size, it basically covers the marketing. Now you're free rolling forever with marketing. Just get past that first one, right? That's really what it's about. Offset the cost.
Yeah.
Soon you offset the cost, now it's free, right? Because without them, you didn't get that lead net revenue, right? Now they've generated that revenue with the lead that you closed, and now it's free rolling moving forward, where the opposite clearly isn't good. So full-time business development person, I think you got to start having in-house. And, maybe they do, the big houses do this a lot. They hire the young guys, make them cold call. And really all they're doing is, booking leads for the senior agents, going out with senior agents.
Exactly. We know a few people who've ended up in that position, right?
Yeah. News to you. If you were, a big house and you were calling and you built this block of business, but you had senior agents out with you, newsflash, that wasn't your book of business. You were the business development person. Now, the hopes is with them is maybe you turn into a consultant, right? It's just like Wall Street, boiler room, you're going to call for the senior broker and you got to close 30 accounts with them till you can be a broker. And that's really, it's the same thing. Will you migrate into be your own advisor? You got to pay for your education. You're now going out with the senior broker. You're learning. That's how you pay for your education. And then maybe at some point you get your own accounts and you close them yourself, like the big boys.
Yeah, so, they know there's going to be breakage, and those business development people are going to leave, and now they got house accounts.
Yeah, they don't care, because what they're doing is they're investing in a new agent. They're calling them an agent, but they're really not. They're just business development. They're telemarketing. And if it don't work out, who cares? They generated leads that went to the senior agent, and it's on the books. It's a house account. And so, what you do with a business development rep, maybe they're just good at that. And they only want to do that. They don't want to do the consulting side. They don't want to do the selling side. Great. Keep them in where they need to be. But some of them want to grow into an agent, and great. I always say, look, if you want to grow into that, I'll put you anywhere you're good and valuable. And then you find somebody else. That's a great situation. Now you have another agent and you start them from scratch, and they learn as they go along through your meetings. So that would probably be phase 2. And really, this is where you got to sit back and decide, because if you're marketing and selling and you're good, your book can grow pretty fast, pretty quickly. And now you're at 2 employees, 3 employees. And now I got another account manager, another this, another that. And now you got to sit back and go, okay, now I've got all this other stuff going on with all these employees, and I'm doing it all because I'm HR, right? And I'm doing hiring for my company. And do I want to do that because it's taking me away from selling what's making me happy? So you try to go is lean and mean, stay lean and mean, lower staff, higher revenue accounts, less accounts, and build the lifestyle around it. But the lifestyle you want, do you want to make $500,000 a year net? Do you want to make $1 million a year net? And go, that's okay for me. I don't need to chase more. Now, obviously, the next step is
a lot of people get stuck in phase 2, right? I say stuck. They just choose that because they've got a lifestyle.
They're in between phase 1 and 2. It's like
everybody has a different appetite, right? Some people are satisfied at a $200,000 book. Other people, 800,000. So
there's a lot of guys that I've spoken to that have book demos, and they're like, look, I got a $250,000 book. I manage it all myself. I work out of my house. I go on vacation. I don't need more than that. I live in, Pennsylvania, or I don't know what's cheap anymore these days, but and that's it. That's what they want to do. They're small group. They'll deal with the small accounts, because as you grow, you're going to get rid of it. People don't show the love to the small accounts anymore. And the cycle continues. The new agent takes them. But, again, that's where you got to decide. But the other thing you got to realize is there is no level in the business. It's up or down, right? You're either growing or you're dying, because if you haven't seen, most of you, share in the chat, I lost 10% of my retail accounts last year to sales. And I'm talking about groups that were 30 lives, 25 lives, 12 lives being sold. 10% of the number of clients, not revenue, the number of clients gone to sales. So as you can see, things can go pretty quick if you're not growing, right? Yes, you get increasing commission every year. That's the big thing that everybody depends on, is, increases offset the losses. But
we have growth of 6%. Oh, well, isn't that called trend? I love it when brokers tell me that. It's like every broker I know has a 96% persistency and a 6% growth. It's like I understand it's the easiest business in the world to just manage, you know.
Yeah, and we were going to talk about
Casually.
that. We were going to talk about 3 phases. Maybe we'll do it on the next show. Is the hunter, the farmer, and then the redemption guy that's ready to come back after he was farming for so many years. Craig knows about that, and we'll save that for another show maybe. But
Yeah, okay.
phase 3, you could talk about your buddy at the event.
Yeah, so we had my buddy.
Business owner. This is when you say, I want to be a business owner.
Yeah, like 56 employees, $20 million book, hundreds of cases, account managers, account management teams, all sorts of service people, somebody to do every job. But you have hundreds of renewals you have to go out on because that's the way it's set up. And so he pointed out, he was speaking to the group of brokers saying, you don't think of this before you're in it. And then once you're in it, you realize, it's not like I'm making that much more money because I have so much more overhead and there's so little time to do anything except just go out and do the renewals because we have 700 customers. And so it can become a trap where you think that it's great, that bigger is better, but not necessarily for you individually as a business owner. So you have to think about that. It's like having the 16th bite of chocolate. In economics, they call it diminishing marginal utility. You don't get the same juice from the 16th bite of chocolate as you do the second one. And so as you start to get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 employees, you may find that you liked your lifestyle before you were that big. And so he pointed out some really good, interesting perspectives that only somebody on the other side of that could show to the brokers to go, hey, you're not necessarily missing out on anything, but you could be.
Yeah, what do you say? From 30 to 60, hey, I wasn't making that much more money. Or,
Yeah.
hey,
what happened? The book of business is much bigger, but I personally am not seeing it.
Yeah, and that's the trap in the broker world is unless you can phase yourself out and hire a consultant to do it, but then, you got to worry about that person leaving and starting his own block with your customers. And so, there's a challenge there. I never went into, let's say, in the retail side of the business owner world where you had account managers. And probably the biggest thing when you go there is the operational manager. So Craig's got, 60 plus employees. He's in that world. But Craig is in a wonderful world because he had a phenomenal operational person that ran everything so he could sell, right?
Yeah. I learned, by paying consultants, I learned how to get smart faster. And so, it started with Dan Sullivan back in the mid 90s. And he taught me about focus days and free days and how to go on vacation and how to detox and how to recharge your batteries and how to delegate. And so those were all valuable lessons. And so over time, the more you practice something, the better you get at it. If your intention is to get better at it. Right. I used to say, so I coached paintball 2005 to 2010. We were the number one team in the United States 3 out of 5 years. And coaching teenagers in a championship level, our kids played all over the world, including the United States and Europe. And what I would tell them, I like the brain science. So I had a coach that coached them on the physical skills, and I did a lot of the mental prep because these teenage kids were playing against young men. These guys, most of the people they played were probably 22 to 32 years old, and in paintball you're wearing masks and you can't tell how old anybody is that you're playing against until the masks come off. And my kids were hated because they'd be like, how the heck did these kids beat our ass? And so it was really, really fun. And what they saw from year to year was that kids that would beat their ass like a drum their first year in paintball, 3 years later weren't any better. And yet our kids were national champions, 2 divisions higher by then. And the lesson for them was just showing up and going through the motions isn't going to get it for you. You're just going to literally go sideways. You're not going to be any better. But if your intention when you show up is to be better, to get better, to do more in the same amount of time, then what it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so you'll improve. And so just going through the motions is frankly what a lot of people in this industry do. And that's okay. They reach an income level that makes them comfortable, and they just basically are doing the same thing they did 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. And the business isn't really changed that much. And yet there's a handful of people who are like, oh my gosh, look at this person. They've skyrocketed. They had a different intention. So when they showed up to practice, they did it with the intention of becoming excellent. And so that's just an awareness level that you have to pay attention to if you really want to get better. You can't just go through the motions. Showing up isn't enough. And I learned that from coaching teenagers in paintball, which was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a decision you got to make because it's a whole nother world. And look, you got to, I'm thinking a lot about it and have decided to hire more people. And, now the play is, okay, let me hire people, grow the revenue, and then sell out to private equity, still have the company, still run the company, but scale it, and then sell it. So that's another option if you want to do that. That seems to be the market right now.
The last 6 years, every year is a record year.
It's not a bad deal. And I'm not saying sell out to take over companies, sell out to a private equity where they're you taking money off the table. You're still running day to day. You still have fair amount of control, and then you're paid even more to grow it more. And so it's it's a pretty good partnership. So that's something to think about if you're trying to exit, because obviously you want to have the EBITDA number as high as possible if you're looking to exit, higher multiple, and so on and so forth. So what else we missed on phase 3? 1, 2, and 3? We covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I like it.
There's only so many phase 3 shops out there. You know what I mean? Most of them have sold out. I mean, like I'm in Southern California and I can't think of a single large regional or local firm. Every single one of them have sold out. Been rolled up.
That's the market. And then, but remember, the cycle will continue. Those especially ones that are close to retirement, they sell.
Oh yeah.
They ride out their 3 years and then they sail into the sunset. Well, those clients didn't buy that person that took over. Yeah. So the new guy, if you're thinking about going on your own, think about it. Go out on your own and go chase those accounts that, have migrated up to the bigger firms and take them over, build your firm, and the cycle continues.
The National Association of Health Underwriters says, I think that the average health insurance broker in America is like 58, John. So if you've got like your classic average broker who's pretty much just gone through the motions and maybe takes the client a little for granted, and so says, well, this is a fair renewal, you should take it, and doesn't necessarily do the full job each and every year. It's commonplace. Therein lies your opportunity. So if you're young or you're just hustling and you're a hunter, there is so much opportunity for hunters out there right now because so many people have taken the liquidity event and taken money off the table. So they got paid. And they're probably beyond their 2-year, 3-year buyout on the back end to get a little extra juice. And if they are, they're typically not highly motivated. And thus, there's opportunities for you to really differentiate if you have messaging and deliverables that are, in fact, better and can do this prospect a better service. So, heck, I'd say with 6 years of record mergers and acquisition, there is nothing but opportunities for people who are skilled hunters. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think you just got to go out, follow those phases, go out and market, create a marketing plan, learn how to sell, get better at stealth study. It's not that hard, but it ain't easy. So we'll leave it there. We'll give you 3 phases. In closing, it's basically decide where you want to go. If you know where you want to go from the beginning, you may not, then you can kind of set things up accordingly, because you're going to have that decision to make when you get to, $500,000, $750,000 in revenue. You're going to have to make a decision at that point. What do I want to do here? So we'll leave it there. Thanks for joining us every week, same place, same time. Well, actually, no, we're changing the time. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific is the new time. And if you listen on the
Anytime,
podcast, check us
'cause
live every
our
Thursday.
host here, John, has a new zip code. So
Talk about
yeah.
that later.
talk about that.
All right,
later.
everyone. Be good. We'll see you next week.
See ya.